Yeah, a very good morning, Honorable Ambassador of Kingdom of Thailand. It's a great pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, dear friends of the transport transformation and electric mobility. It's a great honor and pleasure for me to open today our first in a serious event together with embassies here in Germany, representing our international partners, talking about transport transformation. So the series is called Transport Transformation. And our first event will be on Thailand, and it's called Electric Mobility in Thailand and Germany, Joining Forces for Climate Neutral Mobility. And we are very excited as Agora Verkehrswende, a Berlin-based think tank on the transport transformation, to host this event together with the embassies, with the respective embassies here in Berlin. And therefore, my first role here as an executive director of Agora Verkehrswende, my name is Christian Hochfeld, is only to welcome the ambassador of the Kingdom of Thailand in Germany. And hopefully you don't mind if I try to pronounce the name right, but I may fail a little bit. Dr. Krishnamra. And yeah, it's a great pleasure. So please welcome with me the Ambassador of Thailand to Germany to this event.
Good morning, Mr. Christian Hochfeld, Director of Agora Verkehrswende, Ms. Nareerat Panmanee, Director of Strategy and International Cooperation Division, Department of Climate Change and Environment of Thailand, Dr.Yossapong Laoonua, Associate Professor of Mechanical Engineering, King Mongkut's University of Technology, Thonburi, Dr.Dominika Kalinowska, Director, Transport Projects, Thailand, GIZ, Mr. Markus Becker, Climate Protection and Transport Unit, Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Climate Action, Dr. Akarin Suwarnarat, Executive Vice President and Special Assistant to the CEO, Energy Absolute Public Company Limited, and Mr. Alex Kaltwasser, BMW Group. Greetings to all distinguished participants, both physically present and virtually connected. Guten Morgen and Sawasdee krab. And may I join Mr. Hochfeld in extending a warm welcome to all participants who are joining the seminar Talking Transport Transformation, Electric Mobility in Thailand and Germany, Joining Forces for Climate Neutral Mobility. And it's a great honor and pleasure that this is the first of a series of events involving embassies here in Berlin. And so this event here at the H10 Hotel in Berlin I'm glad to see that the room is full, but we also have an important contingent joining us online from Bangkok and elsewhere here in Germany. I would begin by expressing the gratitude of the Royal Thai Embassy in Berlin to Agora Verkehrswende for initiating and co-organizing this seminar. And I'd like to thank also all our partners involved, both in Thailand and Germany, for their support. It is indeed a timely opportunity to share and discuss sustainable energy approaches in transportation between stakeholders from the two countries. Thailand and Germany share a remarkable history of diplomatic relations spanning 162 years, characterized by extensive political, economic, and social cultural exchanges. The ties have evolved into a multifaceted collaboration with bilateral, regional, and global dimensions in the future of the Indo-Pacific, addressing global challenges, promoting sustainable development, and fostering innovation. I'm particularly delighted to note that the momentum for this event sits well with recent developments following the visit to Vietnam and Thailand of Federal President Frank-Walter Steinmeier during 22 to 26 January this year. The discussions between the new Thai Prime Minister, Mr. Sethar Thavisin, and Federal President Steinmeier in Bangkok have set the tone towards elevating the relations between Thailand and Germany to a strategic partnership. The Thai Prime Minister spoke, among others, about Thailand's EV ambitions and investments in infrastructure and transport for enhanced connectivity. The official meetings and those of the accompanying business delegation highlighted opportunities for increased trade and investment, and particularly cooperation on climate, renewable energy technologies, and electric vehicles, which are well aligned with Germany's climate and foreign policy. As Thailand moves ahead on its energy transition and sustainable transport priorities, we follow closely the strides made in fostering sustainable and environmentally friendly practices by our partners here. In alignment with the European Green Deal, Germany has spearheaded progress among its federal states to transform energy usage across industries. And as Thailand continues to pursue our climate goals set at COP26, with a commitment to achieving carbon neutrality by 2050 and net zero emissions by 2065, we are fully dedicated to decarbonizing the economy. To fulfill the ambitious targets, the Royal Thai government is propelling the green transition through substantial new investments in renewable energy and curbing reliance on fossil fuels. Crucially, and we must recognize this, the energy and transport sectors in Thailand together make up 70% of the total greenhouse gas emissions. Effective and proactive sustainable transport policies and strategies, with collaboration across government agencies and private organizations, will be instrumental in reducing energy consumption, emissions, and associated externalities. In this regard, cooperation between Thailand and Germany through the support of the Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Climate Action and related agencies in advancing sustainable transport will further stimulate the realization of carbon neutrality. And doubtless, we will touch upon some of the challenges and opportunities during this seminar. And we have the representatives of the Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate Action and GIZ with us today. Distinguished participants, electric mobility has particular resonance for Thailand. We have a well-established position as one of the top 10 automotive producers in the world and the largest producer in ASEAN. But we are attuned to the fast-moving industry dynamics. Accordingly, Thailand has now become the market leader for EVs in Southeast Asia. We have a comprehensive supply chain that includes electric cars, electric motorbikes, electric buses and lorries, and related parts and components. The Royal Thai government is implementing a comprehensive range of measures to enhance the overall business environment and ecosystem for e-mobility by, amongst others, setting the target that at least 30% of all vehicles produced in Thailand will be electric by 2030, or at least 725,000 cars and 675,000 motorcycles. And this agenda is supported by the German majors Mercedes-Benz and BMW in Thailand. Several measures have been introduced to support Thailand's EV ambition. These include, for example, the 5-year investment promotion strategy from 2023 to 2027, and effective since January 2023, to attract investment in high-tech, green and smart industries, including EVs. Secondly, the incentive package comprising cash subsidies and tax reductions, including corporate income tax exemption for up to 13 years, to promote domestic manufacture and sale of EVs in Thailand. And more broadly, the long-term resident visa to encourage foreign talents to relocate and establish their business in Thailand by providing a range of tax and untaxed benefits, as well as extended period of stay for up to 10 years for certain individuals. The first phase of EV incentives was launched in 2022. This was participated by 13 brands from 15 companies, and it has effectively invigorated the growth of the EV industry in Thailand, with more than 50,000 new EV registrations recorded in the first 9 months of the program. The second phase of the EV promotion package since November 2023 reveals upgraded incentives. The new package covers investment support for the entire EV ecosystem to attract new players, to establish a production base in Thailand, and encourage existing investors to transition to the EV industry. To cite some statistics, as of 2023, the Board of Investment of Thailand, or BOI, has reported a total number of approved EV activities at 26 projects with a value of 2.2 billion euros or 83.47 billion baht. Battery for EV cover 23 projects at a value of 0.348 billion euros or 1.107 billion baht, while EV parts and components cover 19 projects at a value of 0.15 billion euros or 5.97 billion Thai baht. With regularly updated promotion packages and a deepening EV ecosystem, Thailand thus offers substantial opportunities and capacity as a destination for diversification of investment in e-mobility. This is built upon the base of a comprehensive policy framework and business-friendly environment, reliable infrastructure, skilled workforce, and competitive costs. Further insights into progress on the EV ecosystem, and particularly the charging ecosystem, will be provided today by an executive from Energy Absolute Public Company Limited, a leading clean energy technology and EV-related business in Thailand, as well as representative from the BMW Group. I should note that Thailand is also following developments in technology, and the Team Thailand in Germany, comprising the embassy and the consulate generals in Frankfurt and Munich, have been linking up Thai organizations and businesses to explore opportunities on cooperation on hydrogen, which will be one of the emerging key technologies for transport. And we will continue to link up the relevant organizations in our work plan. Distinguished participants, as we look forward to a new strategic partnership between Thailand and Germany, the Royal Thai government, together with our German and Thai partners, have been working to plan a wide range of activities in 2024, and we're glad to partner with Agora Verkehrswende in this activity. The programs lined up involving high-level visits include business visits, seminars on investment opportunities and energy transition cooperation, and networking activities between the respective private sectors and SMEs, including on automotives and energy transition. I wish to highlight 2 upcoming visits to start an active year. As Thailand is designated as focus country at OAV Bremen's annual Stiftungsfest during 22nd and 23rd February 2024, the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of Thailand will pay a visit to Germany and address the geopolitical landscape in the Indo-Pacific and the new Thai government's key priorities at the OAV 123 Stiftungsfest in Bremen. Of particular relevance is the pre-event business forum organized by the OAV, which will focus on the automotive sector, featuring, among others, Mr. Grisada Uttamod, President of the Electric Vehicle Association of Thailand, and an executive of BMW Thailand as a key speaker. In March, Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin will make his first official visit to Germany to emphasize his message that Thailand is now open for business, and there has never been a better time to invest in Thailand. His program in March includes participation at the ITB 2024 in Berlin, as well as the German Mittelstand's Future Day of SMEs 2024 as a keynote speaker on the 13th of March. Official meetings with the Federal Chancellor, as well as business and and investment opportunities, including one-on-one meetings with German businesses. Distinguished participants, as I end my remarks, it is well recognized by all of us here that transport, a lifeline of our societies, is undergoing a transformative shift towards sustainability, with electric mobility and other technologies at the forefront. Both Thailand and Germany have recognized the need of transition towards cleaner, greener transport options, which is why this activity is so pertinent. Our experts and speakers have joined the seminar to share their insights and experiences and introduce innovative approaches to the electrification of mobility, with a common goal, a sustainable climate neutral future. And we hope to hear from the director, Mr. Christian Hochfeld, perhaps we look forward to him emphasizing the importance of international cooperation from experiences and projects in many countries for the global transport transformation. And on the Thai side, Ms. Nareerat Panmanee, the Director of Strategy and International Cooperation Division, Department of Climate Change and Environment of Thailand. We look forward to hearing from her about Thailand's climate goals and strategies in the transport sector. And the last part is an interactive discussion on the ramp-up of electric mobility and the critical role of international cooperation in achieving sustainable transport solutions by distinguished panelists in the sustainable automotive sector, notably Dr. Yossapong Laoonua, Associate Professor of Mechanical Engineering and Head of Mobility and Vehicle Technology Research Center at the King Mongkut's University of Technology, Thonburi, which has a long association with Germany. Dr.Dominika Kalinowska, the Director of Transport Projects Thailand of GIZ, and Mr. Markus Becker of the BMW UK, Dr. Akarin Sawanarat, the Executive Vice President and Special Assistant to the CEO of Energy Absolute Public Company Limited of Thailand, and Mr. Alex Kaltwasser from the BMW Group. At the conclusion of what we hope to be a very interesting panel, we do hope that the dialogue and exchange of ideas, as well as exploration of potential avenues for collaboration, will continue during the networking reception for those participants here at the H10 Hotel. And the reception will follow the panel. Once again, thank you to you all for being part of this seminar, both physically and virtually. I look forward to the engaging discussions, fruitful collaboration, and shared insights into the various aspects of sustainable transport. ขอบคุณครับ
Thank you very much, Ambassador Krishnamra, for this excellent speech, showing impressively how tight the relationship between Thailand and Germany already is, how ambitious the targets and the initiatives in Thailand are on not only in the transport sector, but especially in the transport sector, developing low carbon, environmental sound technologies like electric mobility and the electrification of road transport. And I would only like to take the opportunity to also point out the importance of international cooperation for the joint development and for making use of those technologies for decarbonizing the transport sector and helping us to combat climate change in the context of the Paris Agreement and in line with the Paris Agreement to avoid the burdens and the catastrophic impacts of climate change to our nation, to our world. And in this sense, I think it's also important to point out that, especially from a European perspective, we are at a very critical point at the moment, because maybe also differently to Asia and especially Southeast Asia, we are not in a phase of growth and fruitful and productive development, but we are at a stage where we see the impacts of a multiple crisis. Some call it the staple crisis time, where we still struggle with the, let's say, implications of the COVID crisis 4 years ago. We absolutely face the impacts of the Russian attack to the Ukraine and the war, which is still ongoing, the energy price crisis, which was directly following this war, and now, and this is, I mean, a specific situation in Germany, also a high inflation and a budget crisis, a national budget crisis, to invest in the future. And this against the background that the climate crisis is not waiting. The climate crisis is not saying, okay, we understand you have a problem, you have some challenges. We keep also the climate stable until you are back in the game to combat the climate crisis. The challenges is to meet the climate targets which are in line with the Paris Agreement, and to see that this is not only good for our climate and for the natural resources and our globe in total, but also good for the economic development, for the industry, but also for social justice and social equity. We have ambitious targets in the transport sector to decarbonize. Most of the countries, and especially our two countries, are committed to a transport system which is decarbonized more or less by mid-century. A little bit earlier, maybe a little bit later, but around the mid of the century, transport should be decarbonized, fully decarbonized. So it's not a hard to debate sector. We know what to do to decarbonize the transport sector, and we just have to do it, and we are struggling with the implementation. Sometimes, and I see this also critical from a German perspective, in Germany you get the impression once a goal is set, we count it as achieved. So we are not asking ourselves, okay, we have this target, but what is the way to reach the target? What political instruments, what technical measures do we need for reaching this target? But we say, okay, if the target is set, automatically it will be met. But this is not the case. Especially in the transport sector, we see that the gap between the target we have in place and the real emissions in the world and in Germany is growing. Agora, together with our partner institutions on the energy industry and agrochemical sector, economic sector, we did a assessment, where are we with the emissions? And we can say, sector overarching, we are in line with the targets. But that doesn't mean so much, because we are in line for two reasons. First, reason is that we have a decline in economic activities, so therefore also the emission went down, but we don't want to link our climate protection plan and strategy with a declining economic sector. And secondly, there is more activity now in energy and industry, but in the transport sector, the emission gap is growing, and we don't see this progress what we need. What we need to decarbonize transport is a combination of substituting all fossil fuels by renewable energies, mainly electricity from wind and solar. That will be the main source, especially for road transport in the future. But in the transformation phase and in the transition phase, we possibly will not have enough electricity from wind and solar. We have to use it very efficient. So what we need is also increase the efficiency of the transport sector by the mobility transition, which means that we also have to shift to more climate sound modes, from passenger cars to public transport for passengers, and also for freight from road to rail. Otherwise, we will not come down with the energy demand at a stage where the substitution of the fossil fuels by renewables is possible. In this sense, we understand that especially this mobility transition needs infrastructures, huge infrastructure developments, rail, public transport, and also it needs behavioral change. And this means it's so close to the reality and to the, let's say, daily life of the people that this will need time to transform. And that means that in this time where we prepare this mobility transition, we need an acceleration of the energy transition in transport, namely the electrification of road transport. So electric mobility is, so to say, the quick win for the climate if we do it in the right way and if we are able to accelerate it. Just to give you the German example, our target, which is also the target of our government, has been set in the coalition contract, is to have 15 million electric vehicles on the road by 2030. That is a third of the fleet, the third of the stock. Currently, we have more or less 1.3, 1.4 million EVs on the road. And that means we need another 13, 14 million electric vehicles until 2030 on the road in Germany, which means, given the fact that if you have an idea how many cars we register in total until 2030, that 2 out of 3 cars which will be registered for 2030 has to be electric to meet this target. Say it the other way around, which sounds even more dramatic for those who are investing in combustion engines, we can only allow 7 million combustion engine cars to register until full stop. Otherwise, we will not meet the climate targets. When I give these numbers, sometimes there's a little bit laughing in the auditory, sometimes there's a little, let's say, disappointment. It shows that this is really more than ambitious, and that needs a lot of acceleration and more comprehensive approaches. And especially for a country like Germany, with this export orientation and huge investment in the automotive industry globally and involvement in the automotive industry globally, that means that we also depend very much on the developments internationally. Not saying that these developments also have to be done if we would like to meet the climate targets. So in this sense, we are only able to meet the climate targets if the whole world is transforming the transport sector, at least by more or less mid-century. And therefore, it's very good and it's promising to see allies in this direction, especially in Southeast Asia, like Thailand is, I think, one of the best examples, but also in other parts of the world, which are, working on this transformation and this transition in the transport sector, which, again, gives benefit to the climate protection. It is good for the industry. That shows all the economic analysis that a fast transition and fast transformation in the automotive industry will, give economic benefits for the front runners, And those who are lagging behind might also feel economic pains in the future and the loss of workforce in the automotive sector. And we can organize it in a way that it's also more social just and promoting social equity if we do it right. So international cooperation is essential not only for climate, it's also the case that if you act global, that it's easier to do this transformation locally, no matter if we are here in Germany or in Thailand. Solutions must fit to the efforts and to the, let's say, prerequisites of cities like Bangkok, rather than Bielefeld, to be honest. Yeah, we in Germany don't have big cities. A couple of them. In Asia, you would say, well, it's not that big. It's rather small. If we talk about Berlin as the biggest city with, let's say, more or less 3.8 million inhabitants, it's small, comparably small to a lot of cities in Asia. So in the future, the solutions will come from those countries and from those cities, because the pressure on solutions is big, but also the innovative force is very big in this area. So that is also something we have to keep in mind. The transfer of solutions to Europe from those cities and from also solutions found in Thailand, be it on the product side, but also on the regulatory environment, are also very important for us. Because it's not only that other countries like in the past will learn from Germany, it will be more also the case that we will learn from other countries in the field of transport transformation and electrification of transport. I don't have to mention China here, which is definitely at the forefront globally, but in the past, international cooperation for Germans was always understood, we go global. But in the future, that will also mean that, you know, the globe and the partners will come to us and also work on joint solutions in Germany. That's why I'm very much looking forward to initiate and intensify this cooperation with those partners which are, again, most ambitious in the world with the transformation of the transport sector. And Thailand is definitely among those countries. And therefore, it's an honor and pleasure for us to open the series of dialogues on further international cooperation and intensified international cooperation with you from Thailand. And it's also our pleasure that our Ministry for Economic Affairs and Climate Protection is supporting us together with GIZ in projects to promote this cooperation on accelerating and promoting electric mobility in Thailand and in Germany. Therefore, now it's my great pleasure to end my speech here, not to bore you a little bit more, but to hand over online and hope it will work. I see that there is a good chance that we will make it. To give you an idea of where is the transport sector in Thailand at the moment with regard to the climate goals and with regard to the strategies to decarbonize it. And it's my very excited to have Mrs. Panmanee, hopefully this is pronounced right, Panmanee here with us, the Director of Strategy and International Cooperation Division in the Department of Climate Change and Environment at the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment in Thailand. So we are very eager to hear from you. Hopefully we will see you soon on the screen. How Thailand is approaching climate change in road transport and the role of electric mobility in this field. The floor is yours, Ms. Panmanee.
Good morning, in Germany, and thank you very much for having me here. Your Excellency, Mr. Nadhavathana Krishnamra, the Ambassador of Thailand to Germany, and Mr. Christian Hochfeld, Director of Agora Verkehrswende, and all online and on-site participants. On behalf of the Department of Climate Change and Environment, it's my pleasure to be here today and give a keynote speech on the Thailand's climate goal. So according to the National Greenhouse Gas Inventory, which is preparing by using the 2006 IPCC guideline, so our greenhouse gas emission from 2000 to 2019, what we find for the fact-finding is that the energy sectors remain the major contributor to Thailand greenhouse gas emissions, accounting for 70%. And we know that the energy sector, regarding with the IPCC guideline, is also included the transportation sectors. So for the other sectors, the share of emission from agriculture, the industrial process and product use, and also the waste sectors was just only like 15%, 10%, and 4.5% respectively. Within the forestry sectors, or we call it as a LULUCF, contribute to the net removal of just only 91 million tons CO2 equivalent. So this is the situations of the Thailand greenhouse gas emissions at the moment with the latest information that we have. And we also report this information to the UNFCCC Secretariat with our BUR4. And another pinpoint is that at the UNFCCC COP26, Thailand has pledged to accelerate our climate targets to achieve the carbon neutrality within 2050 and net zero greenhouse gas emission by 2065. So this target is also in line with the 1.5 degrees Celsius goal under the Paris Agreement. We also raised our nationally determined contribution from 20 to 25% to that of 40% greenhouse gas emissions reductions by 2030. From the business as usual scenario within the year of 2005. This is also subject to the adequate and enhanced access to technology development and transfer financial resources, and also the support for the capacity building for the human resource within Thailand. So referring back to the amount of the greenhouse gas emissions, Thailand has currently revised our 2030 NDC action plan on mitigations to be in line with our 40% reduction target economy-wide in all these sectors that I have mentioned above. We also hope that we will reach the peak year within the year 2025. So for our second updated NDC, the emphasis is especially given to the energy sector and transportation sector. The National Energy Plan has integrated the carbon neutrality and net zero target by focusing on energy efficiency, increasing the share of renewable energy, making a modal shift in means of transport, increasing domestic electric vehicle productions, and preparing to phase out coal-generated power by 2050. Moreover, for the transportation sectors, we also emphasize on the developing efficient and sustainable transportation system to reduce the energy consumptions in transportation sectors, lessen the traffic congestions, create livable cities, and reducing greenhouse gas emissions by using 3 key measures: avoid, switch, and improve. So try to encourage people to avoid traveling or reduce unnecessary travel distance by integrating urban planning with the appropriate transportation planning, especially within the big cities such as Bangkok. We also encourage people to switch from using private vehicles to more efficient and environmentally friendly form of travel. We do have the BTS, SkyTrain, the MRT, and we also have the small rails for connected with the mass transit system. Another efficient policy in Thailand is the 30 by 30. This is the increasing of the electric vehicle production to 30% by the year 2030. So with the alternative energy consumptions, and we also promote gas or oil consumptions and improve the energy efficiency in motor vehicle and fuel efficiency, such as automotive energy saving technologies. If we take a look at our technology roadmap, we can see that the core constraint of realizing the mitigation target and also the greenhouse gas emission reductions. In short-term periods, we urgently support for the energy transitions towards renewable energy source, focusing on renewable energy technologies, approaches in advanced energy storage systems, and the demand side management, especially within the transportation sectors, the development of electric vehicles, the batteries, and also the infrastructures. Moreover, the increasing grid modernizations, the smart energy management, and the independent power supplies is also essential to our roadmap. For the midterm period, we want to reach the carbon neutrality within 2050. We'll plan to enhance the potential use of carbon capture storage. We hope that Thailand is also have one site that has a potential, and we want to make it as a pilot site for these technologies. And we also want to explore the bioenergy with the carbon capture and storage technologies. If we're looking at the long-term periods, I think that the same as the other countries, we still need new technologies or innovations in order to reduce the other greenhouse gas emissions, not just only the carbon dioxide. Thailand also wants to maintain the amount of carbon dioxide emissions, and we also want to maintain our potential sink from the forestry sectors, especially for the natural forest and economic forest. We also want to increase the area of urban green area within the cities. So if we take a look at the transportation sectors, I might have said that the responsible unit for this sector is the Office of Transport and Traffic Policy and Planning within the Ministry of Transport. So as they are the focal point for these sectors, we're taking into account their mitigation plans. So the mitigation action plan of the transportation sector within Thailand consists of 6 policy packages. You can see within this slide, the electrification of transport, the energy efficiency improvement, urban mobility, inter-urban transport, and green logistics. The future energy for transport, which might focus on the hydrogen and transport infrastructure and support. So each of these packages has its own set of strategies that will help reduce greenhouse gas emission in the transportation sector, such as the electrification of transport involve transitioning from traditional fossil fuel power vehicles to the electric ones. Meanwhile, the energy efficiency improvement focuses on the use energy more efficiently to reduce the amount of fuel needs for transportations. The urban mobilities, the interurban transport, and the green logistics are about creating more sustainable and environmentally friendly transportation options for both urban and rural areas. If we focus on the future energy for transport, we're looking at the alternative fuel and energy source of transportations, while transport infrastructure and support focuses on the improving of the overall infrastructure and support system from the sectors. So hopefully that for these measures that we can achieve our short target, especially within the NDC 2030 that we already pledged the 40% reductions from the BAU within 2005. And if we can underline all these measures and we can keep continuing, we'll hope that we can achieve our long-term goal and also support our long-term strategy for low greenhouse gas emission development plan within Thailand. So last and not least, thank you very much again to Agora that invite us to be a keynote speaker here. And I hope that for the transportation sector within Thailand can also inspire some of the idea that we can use for the discussions. And within Thailand, we believe that by working together, we can achieve our climate goal and inspire positive changes. Thank you.
A bit too low. Thank you very much, Mrs. Panmanee, for this impressive presentation of the targets, strategies, and measurements to combat climate change in Thailand. Before I jump to the next agenda point, my question is if there are any questions for understanding or a comment on the presentation of Ms. Panmanee, then I think there would be room for this now. If this is not the question, or if there is no question, there is one. So, yep.
First of all, thank you very much, Mrs. Panmanee, for your excellent presentation. I would actually have a question, and this would be if you introduced us to us the national targets, and if I remember right, you mentioned that the target for 2050 is carbon neutrality, and maybe you could define that a little further, because I was thinking that being carbon neutral means that you have only as large remaining emissions as you have also natural sinks. But then you also mentioned the target of being net zero by 2065, and maybe you can let us know about these two again a little further. Thank you.
Very much. For the carbon neutrality, we focus just only on one greenhouse gas, which is the carbon dioxide. So as we are taking into account the green area within Thailand, or if I would say easier as the forestry sectors, we knew that for our long-term strategy, this is a national strategy. We want to have the green areas accounting for 55% of the national area. So that means we have the potential for carbon sink at 120 million tons carbon dioxide equivalent. So that's why we plan that if we can reduce the carbon dioxide emissions to the levels of the carbon sink, we can achieve our carbon neutrality goals within 2050. And that means we also have to couple with the CCS or the carbon capture storage technologies. And after 2050, we want to do more for the greenhouse gas reduction, not just only for the carbon dioxide, but all the other gases, which actually we have already started at the moment. So at that time, we think that to be in line with the 1.5 degrees Celsius pathway, we have to achieve the net zero greenhouse gas emissions within 2065. I hope that answers your questions. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think that answered the question. And if there's no further question in the room, and silence means always agreement, then I'm happy to transfer to the next session. But before this, I just wanted also to highlight this short stocktake report on the which is called Towards Decarbonizing Transport Thailand 2024. This is, you can say, okay, it's only 5 pages, so it's a very short report. Honestly speaking, there's a saying by Mark Twain, which is, if I would have had time, I would have done it short. So that doesn't show how much work is in there, because it reflects all the data on transport decarbonization in Thailand. And we only did this before for the G20 countries. So it was the first, let's say, fact sheet on decarbonizing transport beyond the G20. And this would not have been possible to put this together, especially finding all the right data without one person from the Office of Transport Policy and Office of Transport and Traffic Policy and Planning under the Ministry of Transport, with our colleague who we had the honor and chance to work with for the last 4 months. He was a fellow in our office, and it was a great cooperation in this time. And therefore, thank you very much for making this possible, this short stocktake. And hopefully it will also be valued, even if it's a short paper, or because it's a short paper, to get a very good overview on the situation in the Thailand's transport sector. So a warm applause, please. And now we come to the panel discussion, and it's a pleasure for me to hand over to my colleague, Elisabeth Leclerc. She's responsible for our projects in Asia and working at Agora Verkehrswende, and she will be the moderator of the panel discussion today. So, Elisabeth, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Christian, and also very, very warm welcome from my side. And thank you also so much to the Thai Embassy for organizing and hosting this event together with us. I have now the pleasure, as Christian said, to guide you through this next hour in the last agenda point for today, which is our panel discussion, which has the title Perspectives on Ramp Up of Electric Mobility and International Cooperation. And I have the pleasure to discuss this topic with some distinguished experts and panelists, which are both online here in Thailand and on site here in Berlin. So I very warmly welcome to the stage Mr. Kaltwasser and Mr. Becker. Yes, and I see that all the online panelists are there. I hope that you can all see and hear us. So yeah, I see some nodding. That's very nice. And of course, I'm also going to introduce each and every one of the panelists in more detail later when I address them individually. But before we start with the actual panel discussion, let me set the scene a little bit first. about what we're going to discuss. So we have heard that in the beginning by the different keynote speeches from His Excellency the Ambassador, but also Christian Hochfeld and Ms. Panmanee about the importance of climate targets in general, but also especially in the transport sector. And yeah, and I think that electric mobility is, of course, as it is such an efficient technology, actually, it is one of the most important levers that we have to actually mitigate emissions in the transport sector. I think this has also been said already today here. But electric mobility is not only an efficient technology and a very important lever, it is also a very dynamic field, I think, a very dynamic business field, technology. There's a lot of transformation happening. There's a lot of opportunities. And last but not least, we have also heard this before, we're quite in an interesting point in time actually here today. Just in between the visit of our president, Mr. Steinmeier, to Thailand 2 weeks ago, and the upcoming visit of the Prime Minister from Thailand, Mr. Srettha, who's coming here in March. And so many things are also going on in the Thai-German cooperations. We also have the free trade agreement negotiations going on between the EU and Thailand. And yeah, in all this time, we're now having here our event, which I think is very interesting, and also to discuss what can the Thai-German cooperation actually bring and support in order to accelerate the transformation towards electric mobility in our two countries. So we are very much looking forward to this discussion. And to start with, I would like to turn to one of our online guests. I would like to start with Professor Yossapong from KMUTT. Thank you so much for joining. Professor Yossapong, you are working at the Technical University KMUTT in Bangkok, but before you have also been a chairman of EVAT, the Electric Vehicle Association Thailand, and you have also been a board member of Thailand's National Electric Vehicle Policy Committee. So you have a very, very comprehensive expertise when it comes to electric mobility in Thailand. And yeah, we've heard a lot of numbers already here today about Thailand's electric mobility sector. And especially, I think the numbers of electric vehicle sales last year, 2023, were very impressive. We've seen like a 7-fold increase of electric vehicle sales to the previous year. Electric vehicle sales make up, I think, now 12% of vehicle sales in Thailand. And yes, Professor Yossapong, what is the secret behind this? What is the success stories there? And what are maybe also challenges when you look at the EV targets in Thailand to get there?
Right. Okay. Can you hear me well? Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Understood. Can you hear me? Right. Okay. I think I don't think it's a secret, and I think it's something that we have been about the EV policies. I think about 8 years ago. I think at the beginning, the previous Prime Minister, we have to give him some credit. I mean, he definitely pushing at the beginning. But at the early stage, if we're talking about 8 years ago, I mean, the first few years, there's confusion, at the beginning, because we're talking about moving from, the ICE, internal combustion engine, into electric vehicle. And at that time, I think only a few people in Thailand and even some of the governments to understand how we're going to move to that. But then I think along the way, we learned during the last 8 years, and I think in the last 3 or 4 years, we start to have what we call the EV National Board, EV Policy National Board, right? And they are working on to gathering people from different ministries, from Ministry of Industry, from Ministry of Energies, from Ministry of also Finance, and all the high position from all ministries together. And it's chaired by at that time, before the current Prime Minister, is chaired by Deputy Prime Minister, and the new committee, unfortunately I wasn't there, but the new board member is chaired by the Prime Minister. So if you look at the last 3 or 4 years, so this EV topic have been, is a priority by the high level in the Thai government. And with the new government, with the current Prime Minister, he still giving as a priority, because I can see he even chair the board meeting by himself. And I think from that board meeting, they're coming up with some of the some program, and also basically some of the subsidy program supporting the industry, the company who want to try to offer some EV product in Thailand, and of course the subsidy some with the condition that the car manufacturer have to some certain period of time, like they have to do local production in Thailand, and that quite draws some attention. There's a investor, I mean basically the OEM, to invest in Thailand, and it looked like during the last 3 or 4 years we have a lot of more EV and more affordable EV models available in Thailand. If you look at the number, however, there's some still challenges. When we look at the number of the battery EV registration, I think the almost 70% is a passenger car, but only about 20% would be electric motorcycle, right? But if you look at the whole the whole car, the whole vehicle registration, normally we have the new motorcycle registration about 2 million vehicles, and also the passenger and pickup trucks, around now close to 1 million, right? So basically, the motorcycle is the majority of the new vehicle in Thailand. But when you look at the BEVs, at the moment, the majority is a passenger vehicle. So that means the electric vehicle is only, can people who can buy or afford. Is still, there's still people who have a kind of medium income people in Thailand, which I think are still, in my opinion, we need to promote, to electrify more on the type of vehicle, motorcycle, pickup truck, and also the truck itself and all electric. So I think at the moment it's only focusing on the passenger vehicle, which is, I think we need to try to do that all type of sector, and that's the challenge, because look like they're not still not have a good quality of I think the electric motorcycle in Thailand, but that challenge, I think the many OEMs start to look at that and try to have a better quality, and have a good electric motorcycle that have a good standard in Thailand at the moment. But I think that's a challenge we have. So we should expand all type of vehicle in Thailand. That's my opinion. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Yossapong, for giving also, especially the German audience, a little bit more of a clearer picture what it looks like in Thailand. And also, very impressive how you described how you established all these institutions to promote electric mobility in Thailand. I think when you start to switch from ICEs to EVs, a lot of countries in the world face the same challenges. We definitely faced similar challenges here in Germany. Also, even if we have a little bit, of course, different landscape here of transport, we have not so many motorcycles in Germany as we can see in Southeast Asia. But maybe let's take the opportunity to turn the perspective a little bit to Germany and to Mr. Becker. We have not heard now a little bit about the electric mobility sector in Thailand and about the challenges and so on. And maybe let's speak a little bit more about Germany now, give also the Thai audience a little bit of a picture of where we are in Germany, where we stand here. What are our current challenges? I think Christian before mentioned a few of them, but where also efficient measures and instruments to go forward now.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for the question. And maybe first of all, let me say thank you again for having us joining here together today. And I think it's worth an applause for the Thai-German team, if I may say so, led by His Excellency, the Ambassador, and Christian, and also the fellow at Agora. Thank you very much for having us here. Maybe to get back to your questions. I think we are at a very crucial point of the development of climate action and transportation as well, and also for the industry transformation. And I think this is also well epitomized by two major European instruments that highly affect what's happening in Germany's automotive sector. And I think the first one is the EU standard for new cars, so the CO2 standard for new vehicles. Actually, Germany has supported the target of the phase out, or maybe let's not say the phase out, but having from 2035 on only zero emission vehicles as new cars on our roads. And this instrument is complemented by an infrastructure regulation, which requires all European member states to set up the related and necessary charging and refueling infrastructure for the zero emission vehicles. And the other major instrument, also a European one, upcoming European one, is the European emission trading that's set to also cover transportation. So actually there will be a new emission trading, so a carbon market for CO2 emissions, including for the first time the entire road transportation sector. And I think these two instruments, they send a clear signal to the industry, but also to the consumers. So the use of fossil fuels is going to be more expensive, and the industry transformation needs to be set to the target of having zero emission vehicles only from after 2035. So you might think that we are actually in a good shape. And if you look at the very numbers, also in Germany, we have witnessed an impressive growth of registering new electric vehicles. Last year was a very successful year. So we are roughly at 20%. I was actually impressed by the numbers Mr. Yossapong introduced for Thailand. 12% is massive, I believe. So in Germany, we are not so well ahead. And Christian also mentioned that with regard to our national targets, we are actually not so well on track. And I think it's worth to, again, take a look at these two European instruments, the CO2 standards for new cars and the EU emission trading scheme. I think what we can expect from these two instruments is we will actually maybe be underachieving in Germany, while we need to overachieve when it comes to EV penetration. One point is that under this carbon market, you can easily imagine that if every customer has to pay a price for CO2 at the gas pump, for instance, that consumers in the maybe a little bit wealthier north and west of Europe have a higher willingness to pay for CO2 for a CO2 price at the gas pump, while maybe some less wealthy customers in the south and east of Europe don't have the opportunity to pay these higher prices. So from this emission carbon market, maybe the signal for Germany will in the first years not be too strong. And also with regard to the CO2 standards, that's of course a massive push for the industry and also for the market in Germany. But when we take a look at the instruments, and Christian has mentioned it a little bit, we still also in Germany have some I think, contradicting policies in place with regard to tax policies for car use and car purchases. So I think the overall framework is well set, but I think we will need to accelerate if we want to meet our climate targets, in particular those in transportation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Becker, for also giving us a little bit of an overview about the German or European situation. And yes, indeed, the carbon emission standards and the emission trading system are two important instruments, and we maybe can speak later about how this instrument could also be important and useful in Thailand. But maybe for now, let's switch a little bit from the policy perspective to the industry perspective. We have also Mr. Kaltwasser here from BMW on the stage. He actually told us he came here today from Munich, and he used, I'm not sure the whole way or in the end, an electric car and had some trouble charging it in the end. So we are right here in the topic. Mr. Kaltwasser, you have worked for BMW for over 20 years, if I'm correct, regarding different topics. You're now an advisor for press and public relations. And what is very interesting and also really nicely builds the bridge back to Thailand is that, of course, BMW, very well-known and popular car manufacturer, is active both in Germany and in Thailand. And I would like to ask you now, in your view, what is actually the importance of those two markets for BMW, and how do you explain the success of EV sales in Thailand? And yeah, is there something that we could learn from these success factors here in Germany?
So first of all, very warm thank you for having us and having the industry perspective for you today. If we look to the success of electromobility, let me just generally speak about it. What are the main factors influencing electromobility? For sure, and that is what everyone expects from the industry, is an attractive product offer. But that's not the only thing. We need the charging infrastructure to get the cars going, and we need, at least if we want to decarbonize transport, we need renewable energy to supply the transport needs. But mostly we only think about those three factors, and it's not an add-on, but it's a multiplication of those factors if we're talking about the success of electromobility. But from our perspective, there's one factor missing in that equation, and that is the customer. And we have to integrate the customer and the customer demand into that equation. Only then we can talk about the whole success of electromobility. So it's not only about having attractive products, increasing production, and the other two options, but how do we get people to make the shift from the well-known conventional technology, from the internal combustion engine to the alternative drivetrains to electromobility? And that is something that is on our mind for most of our markets, being a rather smaller market like Thailand or bigger markets like China, US, and even the European Union. So we have to look at it as a company in a global perspective. And that is a little bit the challenge. And I would refer to what Christian just said. We have to see what we can learn from the different regions and how to engage with the different regions. And sometimes it seems that we are very much focused only on certain regions, but as said, we as an industry company, we have to look at the whole picture. If we look a little bit to the EU, and from my perspective, that's even a challenge for countries where we don't have this match of different countries like we have in the EU, or for example, in the United States. What happens if we look to the e-mobility shares across Europe? At least we have 4 leading countries, both in vehicle shares and in infrastructure deployment. That's France, Netherlands, the Nordics for sure, and Germany. But we have to think about how can we achieve the ambitious targets the policymakers are setting in every country. And that's even true for smaller markets. So how can we make most of the experiences we're doing in every region? That's a little bit what is on our mind talking about that. And as Christian rightly said, goals set don't mean goals achieved or targets achieved. And what we actually see, and that is not only because of the different speeds of deployment of the boundary conditions, right, like renewable energy or charging infrastructure, but especially what comes from the customer side. You have a ramp up of e-mobility and suddenly it kicks off, and then we're coming more into an S-curve again. So growth slows down. And there are many reasons what can happen in between. And what we actually see that there is, I wouldn't call it a resistance, but it's a backdraw somehow in consumer acceptance. There may be many reasons for that, but we have to think about how, with policymakers, with think tanks and industry working together, we can overcome those hurdles. That's a little bit, from our perspective, what is behind the success of e-mobility. And to be quite open, we've always claimed it. Let's see how we can best achieve carbon reduction targets by using different technologies. And you know that BMW is quite keen to rely on all existing technologies to contribute. We're even looking into hydrogen as a fourth option for the future. Hydrogen vehicles, fuel cell electric vehicles, like the name says it, these are electric as well. And we think that hydrogen is or has an important role to play in the future, not only for the energy systems, but also in mobility. And that's what we are working on.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Katwas. I think we're also going to speak a little bit more about hydrogen later on. And thank you so much also for bringing up the issue of the customer, which is, of course, extremely important, because as in transport transformation, differently than in other sectors like energy transition, we really have to pay a lot of attention to behavioral change, right? Because it is, as you said, the customer who chooses what kind of vehicle he's going to buy or to use. Yeah, since we are speaking about industry right now, I would also be very interested in an industry perspective from Thailand itself, and actually from someone who is active in a company which is working both with energy and with transport. I'm speaking about Mr. Suwanarat from Energy Absolute. He's the Executive Vice President and Special Assistant to the CEO. Your company is offering a broad range of solutions, as I said, ranging from wind energy, solar energy, to battery technology, to even electric vehicles. And yeah, I would be very interested in what your opinion is. What are the challenges from an industry perspective, from a business side, of introducing electric mobility in Thailand? And since you're working in these two sectors, energy and transport, do you have like special concepts how to combine EV charging and renewable energy? As we heard several times today, is very important to actually mitigate emissions in the transport sector.
Right. Good morning, everybody. Well, in Thailand, we observe growing interest in e-mobilities with many challenges. As an industrial players, we see that regulatory frameworks is one of the, let's say, the key challenges, because we believe that clear and supportive policies can provide a conducive environment for business, and we can invest confidently in this e-mobility business. Since we already discussed about the customers, yes, we fully agree that in order to accelerate the adoption of the e-mobilities or EVs, people are the keys, right? And how to make the people move from the ICE to EV. One thing is how to encourage them to move forward. One of the key we see that we have to make them not only trying or saving the world, but also saving the money in their pocket. In order to do so, it means they should be able to charge their EV with the, let's say, the low electricity rate. So that's why so far, in order to accelerate the adoption, we actively engage the policymakers to, let's say, to advocate for regulations to foster the sustainable growth and the incentive for the development of the infrastructures. And now today, the energy regulators already grant us the low priority electricity rate for the EV charging stations, which help a lot. But the challenge still, we don't know how long they are going to keep this low priority electricity rate for us. And to accelerate the transformation, we have been adopting many approaches for the e-mobilities in Thailand. We have been investing and developing a lot for the DC ultra fast charge for the charging stations. And so far, our EV fleets can charge with the DC ultra fast charge from let's say 20 to 80% within 15 to 30 minutes. Because we see that in order to encourage people to move forward to EV, client's behavior is very important. The user cannot wait, let's say, an hour or two at their charging station. So they need ultra fast charge and the low electricity price. And so far, we also initiate several approach. We have launched a fleet of e-ferries in Bangkok with about 25 e-ferries. We have launched 1,000 e-buses in Bangkok in operation already, and have already developed about 20 charging stations for the e-buses and 1,000 more e-bus to go this year. And recently, since the end of last year, we are developing a charging station for the e-logistics. Surprisingly, many players in the logistic business pay a lot of attention for moving from the ICE trucks and tractor to the e-trucks. So far, we have developed more than 10 charging stations for the e-trucks. Since the population of EVs are growing, one significant challenge is about the need of substantial investment in charging infrastructures. Because if the population of the EV keeps growing, on the load side, on the demand side, there will be a very fluctuated loads. So there is a challenging not only on the player side, but also on the supply side, that we need a really strong grid, which could help supply, let's say, stable electricity to all the charging stations. And when we talk about the renewable, so the major electricity supply now today in Thailand are from the natural gas, let's say about 70%, but renewables keep growing. So now today we have about 7.5 gigawatt renewable capacity in Thailand and 8 gigawatt more to come within 2030. But there are still a limitation on the regulatory side because based on the enhanced single buyers, which is the law, all the renewable energy provider cannot sell electricity to the consumers or EV charging station directly. We can only sell it to EGAT, Electricity Generating Authority of Thailand, and then EGAT sell it to the consumers. However, now today regulators in Thailand, they initiate the sandbox project, which hopefully allow us to sell electricity directly from our renewable power plants to the consumers. And we are about to try this sandbox project by selling electricity from our solar plants, which are located 200 kilometers away from Bangkok, to our charging station for the e-bus in Bangkok. So to conclude this, we can see that the key challenge are the regulatories, and from the technical side, how could we integrate the renewable together with the EV infrastructures?
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Suwannarat, giving us some insights into the business of your company. And I'm really impressed because there's many applications that you work with, which are really, really difficult. For example, higher power charging, grid integration. We know these are very complicated issues, not only in Thailand, but here in Germany as well. And you also pointed out how important is, of course, the cooperation with policymakers and the regulations and so on. And I think maybe this gives a good transition to the next topic, because I mentioned in the beginning that we also want to speak about what can then now Thai-German cooperation also bring to bring forward and accelerate transition towards electric mobility. And for that reason, I'm very happy that we have here now Dr.Dominika Kalinowska with us, because she works in Thai-German cooperation with GIZ. She's been working in Thailand, I think, for 3 years, and for GIZ 10 years total as Director of Transport. And yes, Dominika, I would be very interested in what have been highlights in your work in the Thai-German cooperation over the last years. And yeah, do you see some examples which can be used in Germany, which you have seen, like, yeah, some best practice examples in Thailand or vice versa?
Yeah, thank you very much. A warm good morning to Germany, to Berlin, and here from Bangkok. Your Excellency, Mr. Hochfeld, esteemed participants and panelists, thank you for inviting us as GIZ. Thank you for inviting me, and also thank you for this question. Speaking about highlights, one thing that I would like to emphasize as an overall highlight is that as GIZ, cooperating with Thailand, with Thai partners on the topic of sustainable transport. We've been engaged for over a decade now, working here on the ground in Bangkok in close collaboration with, for example, Office of Traffic, Transport Policy and Planning under the Ministry of Transport, but also with other partners, and supporting them in their agendas and in their objectives to make transport more sustainable, more climate oriented. So I think this is a general highlight that I wanted to share. However, I also would like to emphasize another highlight from our perspective that I find also nicely links to all the aspects that have been mentioned in the opening speeches, but also here on the panel, is one of our new projects, the Thai-German collaboration on energy, mobility and climate under the International Climate Initiative. It's a bilateral project between Thailand and Germany that is looking exactly into the topic of transport sector electrification for the transport approach, but what makes it a very particular and very comprehensive approach is a multi-sectoral project. So in this project, we also have sectors, the energy sector that is included in the project, also the industrial sector and the biomass sector, and the climate financing component. So it's a very comprehensive approach, but foremost, it looks with a very strong focus into the transport and energy sector transition and coupling, and at the cross-cutting area, so to speak, how to make not only how to electrify the transport sector, but also how to ensure that an uptaking electrification is also properly integrated with the parallel uptake of renewable energy production. So I think with this project, we definitely have currently in our portfolio, cooperation portfolio with Thailand, a very interesting project approach, that is trying to look exactly into the challenges and barriers, not only from the transport perspective, but more from the holistic perspective approach, and trying to take into account what else is required, looking beyond vehicles, to make a smooth transition possible from the conventional technologies to the electrified transport system. So with this project, we will also look into how to assist our partners, various governmental organizations. So we look not only into the Ministry of Transport, but also Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Energy Efficiency, and see how from this holistic approach we can also look into the technical but also policy framework challenges of sector integration. For example, when we look into charging infrastructure development, but also topics like vehicle-to-grid integration, not at least also the whole topic of the battery ecosystem, I think is also crucial to look into when we would like to especially upscale the technology beyond piloting and demonstration. So this is Another highlight that I would like to emphasize, and of course, this project being such a complex and comprehensive undertaking is quite challenging. Yeah, not only from the thematic perspective of trying to tackle into several topics, but in particular also from the perspective that it's facing the challenge of trying to bring together stakeholders from very different areas, yeah, from not only on the governmental level, from different ministries, but also from different sectors. And this is something that I think also probably not only for Thailand, but also for other countries, is another challenge that should not be underestimated. Yeah, how can we bring stakeholders from Ministry of Transport and Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Energy to one table, yeah, to discuss topics that are relevant for sector integration and renewable energy uptake and the electrification of the transport system. So this is exactly the topic that we will be looking into as GSZ, but also with a broader technical expertise, having Thai universities on board to provide technical assistance to the policy level for sound policy design, but also expertise from the German perspective, who is also integral part of the project to bring on board the international experience and international learnings with the electrification and energy transition, yeah, transport mobility transition perspectives on board. So this is maybe another highlight. And here, of course, having these different perspectives in project in one and same project team and providing this expertise and support to the political partners. We are also at the cross section of joint learning. Yeah, as we have heard before, of course, some countries might be a little bit more advanced. Others, they still are kind of in the pilot stage, maybe, or in the demonstration phase. But I think what combines all of us with regard to electrification of the transport system is that pretty much for all of us, it's a new field, a new technology. So there are a lot of things, especially when we look into the technological nitty-gritty, where we can learn from each other. Because the technologies are also constantly advancing, constantly evolving. It's a very dynamic field as well. And this is where the learning opportunities, joint learning opportunities for both sides, Thailand and Germany and vice versa, arise. So I would summarize this maybe from GSZ perspective, that is definitely a challenge, but it's worthwhile, since I think that with electrification we have quite an effective measure at hand how to support transport sector decarbonization, of course, in coordinated combination with additional measures like public transport enhancement, but also the fostering of active mobilities as well. So I think these are also two areas that we don't have to lose sight out of.
Yes, thank you so much, Dominika, for giving us some very practical insights into the Thai-German cooperation in transport. And as we as from Agora are also involved in this particular project, which you have been talking about, we of course know very well how comprehensive this project is and how challenging to bring all together these different sectors and perspectives. And now I think we had a very nice first impressions about electric mobility from policy side, from industry side, both from Germany and from Thailand. And I would like now, since we're very good in time, now to open the floor a little bit and see if we have questions here in the room to some of the panel. Yeah, I think this would be a question for an energy expert. We have a lot of transport experts here right now. Is Ms. Panmanee still in the call? Because she's from the Department of Climate Protection, I think. No, she's not there anymore. So does some of the panelists online can...
Okay, I can help a bit.
Yeah, perfect, thank you.
Well, majority of electricity supply in Thailand, 70% come from natural gas. Only 8 to 9% come from coal, and 10% more come from hydropower plants. So the rest are renewable. And since you see is the reduction of the carbon, there are many reasons. One of the key reasons is this, the COVID-19 actually, because since there is an incident of the pandemics, the demand side, the electricity demands are reducing, let's say, less than planned, while the development of power plants, including renewables, are still ongoing based on the power development plan. This might be one of the key reasons.
Okay, thank you so much. Do we have any further questions? Thank you very much. So this question is about the after-sales market of electric vehicles. I'm not sure, Mr. Kaltwasser, can you say something about it?
Well, let me try to explain. So we started off back in 2013 with electrification with the i3 and accompanying it with a plug-in hybrid model, the i8. So that is the first phase, as we call it. And actually, we are in the second phase where we scale the electric mobility offer to our different vehicle segments and to the different vehicle classes. What has happened in between is a strong development of the technology. So actually, we're talking about the 5th generation of the electric drivetrain and the battery components within the vehicles. So in less than 10 years, you see that there's a strong development. On the one hand, it's about chemistry used in the batteries, and we're closely working together with our suppliers on that one. And we try to understand what is happening there. That's why we're trying to build up our own know-how on that to have a level playing field with our suppliers and with the different stakeholders to talk about all these things and to develop it further, for sure, regarding to our own needs. We want to have the performance of the batteries or the high voltage system at least, because there's many different targets which you have to look at if we're talking about battery electric vehicles. On the one hand, and that was one of the most critical items in the past, is how to achieve a higher range. And talking about electromobility and the nearly 100 years development of internal combustion engines, people are used to have a range of about 1,000 kilometers with their diesel car. So a range of 400 to 500 with an electric car and recharging time of at least half an hour to be on the road again. That for a lot of customers is some of the hardest pain they really actually face with electromobility. What we're looking at, as said, is to develop the technology further. So the first step was to bring in higher ranges into the vehicle, but it has to fit into the whole vehicle system, I would say. So it's a question of integrating it into the whole vehicle. Then the next step is to make use of cost down potentials. But the first cost downs we have seen that went into higher range. Now we're talking about charging speed. And that is another dimension, but it's not in line with just enhancing the range of a vehicle. But it's another dimension in designing the high voltage system. Security is another dimension. And as you may be aware, these are not in line, and somehow you have to find a way to design it so that it fits your product. And what we're aiming at, and that is the next generation, the so-called Neue Klasse of BMW, that's going to be totally new designed as an architecture, which is clearly electric focused. And that is designed for circularity, which is another great and important issue we're actually talking about. And then you have the further development of the electric drivetrain and the battery cells. So we will change the cells we're actually using to a different format, and that gives us an increase in range. It gives us a cost down potential, which at least is a benefit for the customers for the future. And by the way, we're designing it in a way so that the CO2 footprint of the vehicle goes down as well. So hope that answers a little bit of your question and what we have to consider with battery electric vehicles.
Yes, thank you so much. Then I would say that we continue with our questions to the panelists. And maybe Mr. Kalinowska, we stay just right with you since you were just talking. You said earlier that, yeah, if you are going to other markets, you always have to look at the individual needs and, yeah, framework conditions that you find in these markets to know and to learn about them. And now we also talked a little bit already about some technical details about components and batteries. Could you maybe tell us a little bit, what are your future plans with BMW in the ASEAN market or like in Thailand in general? And what would you require from policies or from the policy side in order to, yeah, move forward with your plans?
Okay, so looking into the future, we have to think about how to get all the raw materials for electric mobility, and that is true for every region we are operating. We need to think of free trade in that perspective as well. And what comes up since the Ukrainian war is a huge discussion about resilience in supply chains. So from our perspective, free trade is the only way we can guarantee that everybody has access to market and that we can source our components or our raw materials where we find best conditions, and somehow to diversify our supply chains in order to reduce resilience from certain countries. On the other hand, what we just talked about is how to integrate electromobility into the energy system. And that is from a multiple perspectives an important thing. And that I think we can look deeper into. It's the question of charging infrastructure and the mix you're building up, AC, DC, high power charging, and what comes along with it. So how to keep the grid capable of the additional load that comes with those vehicles. And grid integration was mentioned by Ms. Kalinowska as one of the topics. And we're very happy that the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate has taken a lead within the European Union to talk about framework conditions on bidirectional charging. So we see smart charging and bidirectional charging as two options where we can better integrate electromobility into the grids of the future. By reducing the need to enhance the grids, there will be a need for that, but we can reduce it with those smart charging options. And that's something we're working on, and we're engaging in the project that was launched by Mr. Habeck last year. And we would gladly like to see some engagement on those topics in other areas of the world as well. So we have a long-standing experience from the US market, where we put up something similar a couple of years ago, which is very much accepted by the customers. And it shows that if you do it in the right way, it does not disturb the customer or doesn't draw him back on using his vehicle whenever he likes to. So if we're talking about grid integration, it has to be customer-centric as well. So if I need the car, I can simply drop out of charging events if need be. And otherwise, customers need an incentive to be a part of that grid integration. Otherwise, we think that the customer will not share his valuable battery for grid services as well, because driving is the main target or the main goal that customers want to achieve.
Yes, thank you so much. Very interesting. So you spoke about free trade, which I agree is very important if we want to, establish fair market conditions for the different green technology options we have. You spoke about smart charging, which is one of the future topics, I think, which is also very important about batteries. And yeah, maybe at this point, let me turn again to Mr. Swanerat from Thailand. When it comes to the future, what do you think, on the one hand, also the same question as to Mr. Kaltwasser, what kind of political frameworks do you need for your future developments and for your future goals? And maybe also speaking about battery circularity and sustainable battery production and recycling, what are your plans from your company? What can you share with us?
Well, as mentioned previously, there are many challenges in these markets. When we talk about the policy or the frameworks, in order to encourage the people to use EV, again, we need to be able to supply them with the cheap electricity to charge their cars, right? Even now today, we get the low priority tariff from the government, but we still don't know how long they are going to support us on this. And when we talk about the clean electricity, let's say renewable power source, since we are still stuck in this enhanced single buyer that we still, as an energy provider, we still have to sell electricity from our wind farm and solar farms to EGAT. And as the service provider for the charging station, we still have to buy electricity from EGAT. We cannot use our own clean electricity. So we hope that based on this sandbox projects, we can successfully test the system and convince the government, who hopefully in the future should allow us to be able to buy clean electricity directly from the energy providers. This is one thing. And another thing is, actually I forgot to mention earlier, is about the investment. Because in order to expand the infrastructures to encourage the people to move forward to the EV, we still need more infrastructures, which means we need a lot of investments. So far, though, we already received the clean loan from the Asian Development Bank and the IFC, but still I believe that not only us, but also other companies, other charging providers still need support on this investment. But another thing to mention, that we have successfully trade the carbon credit from our e-buses to the CLIC, the Swiss foundations. So we trade carbon credit across the regions from Thailand to Switzerland, which could be a good example. But the question is still, how are we going to be able to pursue to this direction, to get the green loan, to get a lot of investment, to expand the charging infrastructures, and also to be able to make a carbon credit trade across the regions?
Yes, thank you so much. We have to look a little bit at the time because now we haven't so much time left, but thank you so much for your inputs. And maybe I'm transitioning now to Dominika. Now you have heard some demands or wishes from the Thai industry side, what would be needed, buying green electricity directly from the energy providers, and also investment and financing support in the future. Are these issues which you also encounter in your project, and what would be your personal wishes for future Thai-German cooperation and for your work?
Yeah, I think I mentioned already earlier, the Thai-German cooperation project, Energy, Mobility, Climate, is a comprehensive project and is looking exactly into those topics that have been mentioned by Suvanrat, but also by the speakers earlier, especially bi-directional charging in this kind of aspects. This is definitely something that we would like to look into, not only from the technical perspective, but also talking to the directly supporting our political partners to see into the proper policy design, provision of policy frameworks that would support exactly this kind of development of relevant infrastructures, creation of relevant, say, ecosystems from a broader perspective that will facilitate the uptake of electric mobility here in Thailand, not only in the private sector but also in the public sector, for example, yeah, within the segment of first mile, last mile vehicles, feeder system electrification. I think they are beyond the private car use. I think there are a lot of segments that also would benefit from electrification, but also a better integration. This is another aspect that I would like to emphasize, coming to my wishes. Yeah, I think it's excellent to look at electrification as the quick win, yeah, for transport sector decarbonization. But I think it's equally relevant also to see how electrification can go hand in hand with system improvement, also in terms of, for example, convenience, safety, and in particular also better integration with already very emission and energy efficient transport modes, like, for example, transport system, yeah, rail-based transport systems in Bangkok, in bigger cities, yeah. Same for bus electrification. I think nothing can compete in terms of efficiency with a proper and convenient public transport. So I think it's also not only about electrifying, but it's also about integrating, yeah, with already existing solutions that then again still always kind of looking a little bit at the convenience aspect, talking about behavior. We want to shift the private car user, put him rather on the public transport, not only for environmental reasons, but also for other reasons, like, for example, congestion, that is quite relevant here in Bangkok as well. So we have a variety also of co-benefits that are part of the picture somewhere, yeah, that we as GZ or as a project, as cooperation partner to our Thai government partners and other partners, we're also looking into these as well, to tap into those and make the whole package more attractive for further development and upscaling. So I think this is also quite relevant to look into. Yeah, last but not least, as mentioned earlier, I think bottom line crucial is to further continue enhancing also the cross-sectoral cooperation, yeah, between the different institutions, different ministries, because we see here, especially when it comes to proper design of policy measures or implementation of powerful enforcement of powerful regulations or policy instruments, I think it really is important that everyone is kind of backing the same objective and is kind of pulling at the same string, what we say in Germany, yeah, because only with this joint forces, I think we can create a more comprehensive and more holistic policy framework that would also allow for an impactful upscaling of the technologies that we are introducing to the market with the electric mobility. So maybe this also another point on my wishes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your wish list. I think we have now heard about many projects and technologies we want to look at in the future. We have talked about, sector coupling, grid integration, about battery technology. And Mr. Yossapong, maybe quickly turn to you one last time. I said earlier, since now we're talking a lot about, energy integration, but also we spoke earlier about, Mr. Kaltwasser spoke about hydrogen. And I wanted to quickly come back to this topic and ask you how you see the role and the importance of hydrogen in, mitigating transport emissions and in the transport sector. And if we look at the future, what role would you say does it play?
Right, thank you for this question. I think the hydrogen is quite kind of a new topic here too. there's a group of cooperation between industry, academics, and and government try to study the opportunities, how to utilize of the hydrogen. I think that there's still many top many issue and many questions need to be addressed in Thailand. For example, where's the source of how we're gonna produce the hydrogens in Thailand? What source of energy we are gonna use? It's gonna be basically coming from electricity, or it's gonna be from byproducts from the chemical from the industry. And how we're gonna have putting the infrastructure of the hydrogens, in Thailand, and who's gonna be investment on that. And that's a lot of challenge, I think, that need to be answered. But I'm saying that there's still some demonstration project that they try to introduce some of the hydrogen car, putting some station in the EEC area, and also they want to launch the electric truck, the hydrogen truck in Thailand as a demonstration. So I think we can learn from that demonstration, and we probably will be able to try to answer all that question. And then we have to see whether can we actually scaling up, what's the challenge going to be scaling up. In my opinion, at the moment, I think it's about the cost. The cost of that can be quite expensive at the moment. Definitely there will be cheaper, and it would be opportunity. And we have to look, both on the battery reason, also on the hydrogen technology. I cannot deny that. We cannot deny that. We have to look at it and compare. And I think it needs to be studied, and before our government putting any policy on that. Definitely we need to have more information and more study on that.
Yes, thank you very much. And I think when speaking about hydrogen, it's always really important also to look that we don't have only in transport the road sector, right? But we also have some sectors as the aviation sector and the shipping sector where it's not possible to very efficiently electrify. So I think hydrogen definitely plays an important role in transport. We also have to look, as you said, at the costs and where it really makes sense to introduce it. Yes, so I think now we have spoken a lot about different future plans, future wishes for both the acceleration of electric mobility and Thai-German cooperations. Maybe for a closing word, I would also hand it again for last time to Mr. Becker. What would be your closing words to say? What can we learn from each other? Even though, of course, Germany and Thailand are in some ways very different, have very different market environments, but still regarding accelerating the transformation to electric mobility, and from the policy perspective, what can we learn from each other?
Thank you. Well, I think one thing for sure us here in Germany can learn from Thailand is maybe a little bit of a new mindset and spirit, because mindset in Germany and spirit is with regard to automotive quite engineering driven, and I think that's brilliant, and that's what has taken us here. But that also sometimes makes us a bit lamenting about the situation and saying, well, a new product has to be twice as good as the existing one before we even consider using it. So the electric car has to perform twice as good on environmental performance, even if we know that even on a substantial fossil fuel energy makes EVs perform better than conventional vehicles. And the battery needs to be 100% sustainable, for instance, while is actually anyone asking about where the oil comes from and what is the oil's impact on the ecosystems across the world, and where does the money go to? Which regimes are we fostering with our oil consumption? So maybe we can learn a little bit from, I assume, a new generation in Thailand and the other Asian countries that has actually never acquired a conventional vehicle and never will. So there is more and more people around the world that don't ask the question, well, don't compare between the new and an old product. And maybe they will rather ask, well, what does the new car have as features to entertain me while I'm driving? And maybe people in Thailand ask this, but maybe that's also not too different from what people in Berlin asked. I think many people here, if they own a car at all, they would never have the idea to drive their car to Italy on holiday. They take the train or they fly, but they don't take their car 1,000 kilometers far. And I think they don't talk too much about infrastructure because, of course, it's very worthwhile to talk a lot about that. But I think all of us here in this room and online know at least one car manufacturer that has actually proven that infrastructure doesn't seem too much of a problem to sell cars and be profitable. So I wish that us here in Germany can learn from a spirit of emerging economies like Thailand and also younger generations, that I think it's worth to embrace a new technology. And I think also in Germany, we are in a good shape. We can build upon a huge legacy. And I think the framework is set. So, and we have excellent corporations like the one Dominika is representing, but also we have the Improve project from the International Climate Initiative. So let's take this today as only the start of having met old friends, but also making new friends and fostering even stronger ties between our two countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And now I'm looking a little bit at the time. Hannah, do we have time for 1 minute final statements? Yeah? Okay, so great. Then I would, at the very end of our panel discussion now, ask each and every panelist and speaker to give a very brief 1 minute statement. If you could change one thing today in order to facilitate the switch to electric mobility, be it from technology, from policy side, if you could change one thing immediately, what would it be? And I would start with Mr. Kaltwasser, Mr. Becker, and then hand it over to the online panelists, maybe Dr.Dominika Kalinowska first, and then the other two gentlemen. And yeah, give your 1 minute final comment, please.
Okay, thank you. So what would be my wish list? For sure to enhance the good relationship we built up with the government of Thailand, work closely together for the future as well. Stay open for the technology development and to go the way to zero emission mobility together as policy, industry, and other stakeholders.
Thank you very much.
I think I can only join there. Stay open and change your mindset as good as you can.
Thank you very much. Then over to Dominika.
We are very thankful, of course, to the German government and the International Climate Initiative supporting this collaboration. Yeah, so this would be one of my final statements. At the same time, I think it's also a great opportunity having this panel here, this event, this seminar here, to also exchange closer our perspectives and foster the dialogue even in a more intensified way. So I would very much look forward to have more of this kind of events, yeah, bringing our perspectives together in one room, in one panel.
Thank you. Then maybe Dr. Yossapong.
I think for my opinions, for the decarbonization in transport, I think still a long way to go, but I think we need to act. We try to think today and try to act today, to be able to achieve what the target we are setting, in the long term.
Okay, thank you so much. And last but definitely not least, Mr. Swanerat, please.
Yeah, it's still a long journey. So we hope to see that it's not just moving to the e-mobilities, but also to be able to supply e-mobilities with the renewables. Yeah, because it doesn't make any sense, right, if we supply our electricity from the, let's say, brown electricity to the EV.
Okay, great. Thank you so much to all the panelists. So now we are finished with the panel discussion. I'm so happy that we had such an interesting discussion here today. And this is now the final agenda point for the online listeners and participants here today. So thank you so much for joining online. The program here now in Berlin on site will go on a little bit. But yeah, I can say that we can firstly give a big applause to the panelists here and goodbye to the online participants.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.